Hey, it's been a while. Thanks for clicking on my face. Hello and welcome to Our Shakespeare, the channel where I talk about Shakespeare from my own 21st century American's perspective. Before we get into the content of the actual video, I just wanted to take a moment to note that I have reached the 500 subscriber mark, and I just wanted to thank those of you who have subscribed. I'm not monetized or anything, I don't know that I ever will be, but I really think that it's wonderful that so many of you are interested in having some kind of community where we can discuss Shakespeare. I think that's wonderful and I really appreciate you being here. And if you are new to the channel and you like what I'm doing, go ahead and subscribe. That shows me that there are people out there who are actually interested in what we have to talk about, and I think that's great. As for today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different from what I've done before. Usually I'll have some kind of discussion about a particular theme of a play, or do a little summary of a play, or maybe do a film review, I don't know. But today is a little bit different because I am counting on people to submit comments. I'm hoping that today's video will spark a conversation. And specifically, I would like those of you out there to convince me to love 4 specific Shakespeare plays. Now, before I talk about these 4 Shakespeare plays, I would like to say that I think every play that Shakespeare wrote is a good play. There is something in every play that I find interesting, and at the very least, the language is always something that I can really sink my teeth into. Usually there are solid characters, usually there are interesting plots or story beats. So, before I get into these 4 plays, I want to make it clear these are not plays that I dislike, because I think every play that Shakespeare wrote I do like. But these 4 plays are 4 Shakespeare plays that I have seen make a lot of people's lists of their favorite Shakespeare plays, or they're plays that get studied in school a lot, at least here in the United States, or they're plays that I frequently see productions out there for. So I know that they're among the more popular, the more well-respected of Shakespeare's canon. And yet, they don't connect with me in the same way that some of Shakespeare's other plays do. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk a little bit about these 4 plays and why maybe they haven't connected with me yet, what it is that is standing in my way of appreciating them. And I invite and encourage you, if you love any of these 4 plays, to leave a comment saying what it is about it that you love, and maybe I will be able to find some new appreciation for these plays. So, first, number 1 is a play that here in the United States is read a lot in schools. It is a very common play for performance. I personally have seen a few different productions of it, though I have not acted in it myself. And it is a play that I myself read in high school. At the school where I teach, this play gets read in 8th grade. And at my oldest child's school, it got read in, I believe, 9th grade. So this is a very common play to read in the United States as part of English classes. And that play is Julius Caesar. And again, this is not a play that I deeply dislike or anything, but I have always struggled to really connect with it. And while I can't say for sure, I think the reason why is because I have not been able to get past the idea that the title character is killed off so early in the play. Spoiler alert. I think, for me, it always strikes me here in my head that the title character's assassination is the sort of event that would be a climactic moment, something that the play builds up to. But that's not the way it's treated in the play Julius Caesar. Instead, it happens early on. There's a build-up to it, it's this big kind of climactic moment, and then because of that, I have always personally felt that what follows is just a really extended falling action. And so, the play has never hooked me. I will say, there are some interesting characters in there, there's some great speeches in there, there's some interesting discussion between people about how they should move forward after participating or not in the assassination. And so there's certainly stuff there that kind of intellectually I could find interesting, but for whatever reason, I have not been able to get past that kind of odd structure as it relates to the title. So, if you can tell me why you love Julius Caesar, please do so in the comments. Okay, play number 2. This is a play that I know a lot of people love. It's a little bit lighter, certainly lighter than Julius Caesar, and it is a play that I've actually acted in, and it's a play that I've seen a couple performances of, and I frequently see on people's top 10 lists of Shakespeare plays, and that is the play As You Like It. Now again, none of these plays are plays that I dislike, but I will say As You Like It has never connected with me in the same way that some of the other comedies have. There are elements of it that we see in other plays, like, you have the main protagonist dressing as a man to get through the world. To me, that feels a lot like Twelfth Night, and I just find Twelfth Night to be more interesting. Viola strikes me as a much more interesting protagonist than the protagonist in As You Like It. And while I will say one of the best speeches of Shakespeare does come from As You Like It, the All the World's a Stage speech, for whatever reason, the rest of the play just has not struck me as nearly as interesting as that speech is. So there are moments in it that I enjoy. There's some funny bits. There's a great speech. But to me, it just feels like a series of okay stuff that I like better elsewhere. Okay. Number 3, and these are not in any order, I should probably say. Should have said at the beginning, but oh well, I didn't. Play number 3 is a play that I know some people are going to be very surprised about. It is one of those plays that is often lifted up as a wonderful play specifically about a particular character. And for some reason it has not spoken to me. And that is the play Richard III. So Richard III is, I think, a fascinating character from an acting point of view, from the perspective of performance, and from the perspective of his relationship with the audience. Certainly it's fascinating the way he tries to get the audience on his side, how much he soliloquies directly to the audience, and he does some really terrible things, but forges a relationship with the audience throughout. That's a great, interesting thing. But we also get that in the character of Iago in Othello. And for the reasons of the other things going on in Othello, I find Othello to be the far more interesting play. I think it's interesting, the racial dynamics in it. I think the relationship between Othello and Desdemona is interesting. I think the relationship between Iago and Emilia is interesting. So there's a whole lot going on in Othello that aligns with what I think is the most interesting thing about Richard III, and I just like what happens in Othello more. And I know they're not the same play. There's other things going on in Richard III, and I think if you're really interested in the history plays and what Shakespeare does with historical figures, I think then that's really cool. I've never been somebody who is particularly fascinated by the history plays, although I do like many of them very much. So, Richard III, for those reasons, has not spoken to me, but if you love it, please tell me why, and maybe you'll change my mind. Okay, play number 4, the final one on this list, last but not least, or as King Lear says in King Lear of Cordelia, last and least. Neither of those things. And it's not King Lear, which is among my favorites. My last play is one that it pains me to put on this list because it is considered, at least was told by one of my beloved professors from grad school, to be his favorite Shakespeare play. And that is Antony and Cleopatra. Now, Antony and Cleopatra, I will fully admit, has beautiful language. It's stunning. It really is Shakespeare at the height of his powers of language. However, the thing that I struggle with in Antony and Cleopatra, even though I find the relationship of Antony and Cleopatra interesting and the characters of Antony and Cleopatra interesting, I have struggled with the way the story is told. I feel like a lot of the play is tell, don't show, rather than show, don't tell. And what that means is there's a lot of really interesting things about the characters that we're just told by other characters talking about the characters and telling us through direct exposition what's going on with them and things that they did. And those are things I would much rather see. I'm just not interested in hearing these people tell me what's going on with these people. I'd rather just see it myself. And so, even though it has beautiful language, even though it has some interesting characters, I find when I'm watching a production of it, I get a little bit bored because I would rather see what's going on than hear other people talk about it. So those are the 4 plays that I would love to love. And if you love them, tell me why in the comments and maybe we can have a conversation. I really genuinely look forward to hearing from you about this. So, thanks so much for watching. I commend you to your own content.